بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده أما بعد. The next two chapters, we completed the chapter in regards to staying away from anything that is doubtful. باب في الورع وترك الشبهات. We finished that yesterday. The next two chapters apparently seem like they are chapters that contradict each other. This first chapter here is باب في استحباب العزلة عند فساد الناس والزمان أو الخوف من فتنة في الدين ووقوع في حرام وشبهات ونحوها. This chapter is in regards to staying away from people when there is a fear of a person's deen being in maybe in some type of fear of losing his deen or falling into some type of haram. So Imam Nawawi rahimahullah mentions the ahadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in which the Prophet ﷺ encourages the Sahaba when there is a time of fitna, or when there is a time when your deen is in maybe tribulation or some type of trial, to stay away from the fitna of the people, to stay away from the corruption of the people, and to seclude yourself in seclusion. And then in the next chapter, Imam Nawawi rahimahullah mentions the virtues and the fada'il of ikhtilat bin nas, or being with the people. So apparently it seems like there's a contradiction here. But in reality, there's no contradiction. The first chapter is in regards to staying away from people, or staying away from a certain, maybe a certain group or a certain time period when there is a trial of deen going on. So for example, maybe there is a corruption or a fitna that will put your deen into some type of, it's in danger. At this time, it is mustahab, and it's preferable that a person stays away from the people out of fear of falling into that same type of fitna. And so the first hadith here is a hadith reported by Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas radiallahu anhu. He says, قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول إن الله يحب العبد التقي الغني الخفي. رواه Muslim. Hadith reported by Imam Muslim. He says, I heard the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم saying, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves that servant who is fearful of Allah, who is independent, and a person who is secretive or stays to himself. He's independent, he's individual, he's worried about himself and his affairs. He's not really involved in everything and anyone that's everything that's going on around him. In another hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, here hadith reported by Abu Sa'id Khudri radiallahu anhu, he mentions that a person said, Ayyun nasi afdalu ya Rasulullah, O Prophet of Allah, which people are the most meritorious or the most rewarded? So the Prophet ﷺ says, Mu'minun mujahidun bi nafsi wa malih fi sabilillah. A person who stays, that struggles with himself, and a person who struggles with his finances, meaning a person who gives a wealth for the sake of Allah, all for the sake of Allah, this is the most meritorious person. Then the person asked, what about after them? So the Prophet ﷺ said, ثُمَّ رَجُلٌ مُعْتَزِلٌ فِي شَعْبٍ مِنَ الشِّعَابِ يَعْبُدُ رَبَّهُ. And in another riwayah, وَفِي رِوَايَةٍ يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ وَيَدَعِ النَّاسَ مِنْ شَرِّ. A person who stays away from people out of fear that his deen will be put into some type of danger or trial. So when a person's deen is in danger, then to stay away from people is something that's preferable. In the next chapter, Imam Nawawi rahimahullah mentions how it is also meritorious to mix with the people, to meet with them, to talk to them, to be with them, to understand them, to have an understanding between them, to be friends with them. And he mentions as long as a person his deen isn't going to be affected by their evil. And as long as لِمَنْ قَدْرَ عَلَى الْأَمْرِ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَالنَّهْيِ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. As long as he has the authority in his being, that even if he's around that group of people, he can still tell them what to do, what is right to do and what is wrong to stay away from. What is right that they should do and the haram that they should stay away from. He still has that authority. He's not overtaken or overpowered by all these people that he's like a mouse there and can't say anything. He just does what everyone else is doing. But instead, he's there as a means of da'wah in telling them in what to do in regards to the umur of deen, in regards to the things that are attached to the deen, basically telling them about salah and zakah and staying away from haram. In that sense, then it is mustahab, and it's also meritorious to mix with the people, to get to know them, to have a mutual, understanding with people. And this is what these two chapters are about. I skipped some ahadith and just gave a quick summary of these two chapters, as apparently they were contradictory and they're connected to each other. But then again, a quick summary, staying away from people when their shar or their evil will affect your deen. And then at the same time, it's mustahab to be with the people as long as you have a chain of command in regards to telling them what to do in regards to the deen, and telling them to stay away from anything that's haram. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us tawfiq to act upon what has been said. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us, to guide us, to keep us and our families away from all harm. Subhanallah wa bihamdi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.